Catherine, you were a law student at Boston University.
Yes, uh-huh.
What was it like to be a woman law student back then?
Well, I think I'd like to answer that first by telling about when I went there to take the law aptitude test. And it was not a normal time period because World War II had just ended and the boys had just come back. And Boston University Law School was flooded with these boys who were there on the GI Bill of Rights, most of them, you know. After World War II, thanks be to God, we did pay for the boys to get educated when they came back, unlike certain other wars where we let them down. But I looked around at these boys, and it was the opposite of what you'd think. 4 years of college, then you go on to law school. It wasn't that. They were exhausted. The air was filled with tiredness. They looked poor. And they looked sad. But the primary thing was tiredness. So I looked around the room at these boys, and I thought, I don't want to do better than one of them. I thought, God forbid, here my husband is supporting me, that I should pass and cause one of them to fail. So I sat there. I don't recall if it was 2 or 3 days. But I sat there writing my answers, looking around the room and thinking, oh my God, take care of these boys. And I came out somewhere in the 90s in my percentile. I don't remember which 90, but it was in the 90s. Now that's in part an answer to your question of what was it like to be in law school at that time. But it also brings me to another point, which is I don't think there's power in rivalry. Now there I was, not praying for myself, praying for them, and I did all right. Now if I'd been sitting there saying, well, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do well, I've got to do better than these, I might have done worse. But I think that's quite important, you know, because if you come over to the extreme of rivalry, this is a little non-sequential, but you take the Tonya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan thing we're going through now, where the way to manifest the grace, strength, and beauty of athletics is to go bust the leg of your opponent. I mean, we're living in an insane society. I think there's the false belief that hatred is power and love is weakness. And I think it's the exact other way around. Hatred will destroy you to the point where you can't function. And love is the power. You could say it's in religious power, but if you were an absolute atheist, it would be perfectly all right. Even humanly, it's love that creates and builds, and that's where the strength comes from. If you're sick, love gets you well. Hatred makes you sicker, kill you if it gets bad enough, and so forth. So back to BU. With all due respect, I didn't learn much there. What I did learn, I think I taught myself in the library, which is not to insult BU, except in one way. But I don't think this was specific to BU. It's probably through all the law schools and all the schools. They used fear as a teaching technique. You know, if you don't do this, you'll get in trouble. If you do this, you'll get in trouble, and so forth. So we sat there for 3 years thinking about getting into trouble. Well, it's an asinine way to prepare yourself, you know. After I got out into practice, been in practice about 7 years, I guess, I had occasion to ask a professor of BU, not one that I had had when I was there, but one who came on afterwards. Well, he was head of the graduate tax program. Asked him to come here to Peterborough to help with a case that involved various other lawyers on the taxation point. And I explained the issues. He said, yes, I'll be up there. I'll scare them. And I said, oh, no, you won't. I said, we're all scared to death anyway on this case, and we're not hiring you to come and scare us further. We wanted the fear removed. If you think you are ignorant on a subject, that's very fearful. We wanted him to come and nourish us and sustain us, not to scare the hell out of us. So to that extent, I think that I do condemn BU for that, using that as a teaching technique. Also, I think they were too stuck on the objective level. Cases, cases, cases. Always the fact pattern. And I think the objective level is nothing but a preliminary to the principled level. You start with the broken pieces of the pattern in order to see what the pattern is, but if you remain always stuck on the level of the broken pieces, you never see the pattern. And this sounds ungrateful, and I wish to counteract that lack of gratitude immediately by saying, I am grateful that they let me in. I did go to Harvard Law School and asked to go in before I went to BU. And they laughed, said, we don't take women. I said, oh, I apologize, sorry to have troubled you. I assumed you did because I know you take women into the medical school. They said, yes, we do, and maybe someday we will take women to law school, but we don't now. So I said, thank you very much, and I got out, and then I went to BU. Later, while I was at BU, Harvard Law School did open up for women, and I thought, no, it may be a better school, maybe it isn't, but I owe a debt of loyalty to BU because when Harvard rejected me, BU did let me in, and I am not leaving now. So I stayed my 3 years, and I graduated from BU. So I would like to be very, very careful not to dilute or diminish my expression of gratitude to BU by saying I don't think I learned much there, because it really wasn't BU's fault. What I really would like to say in that regard is I believe in the old-fashioned apprentice system. And